In today's video, Gavin Newsom pisses off Democrats after he called Mr. Garcia's deportation fight a distraction. Also, the senator from Maryland confirms that he used taxpayer money to fly down to El Salvador. And the mayor of New York City, Eric Adam, shares an important message.
Yeah, it's this is the distraction of the day. The art of distraction. Don't get distracted by distractions, we say, and here we zig and zag. This is the debate they want. This is their 80-20 issue as they've described it. You know, those that believe in the rule of law defending it. But it's a tough case. Because people are they defending MS-13? Are they defending, someone who's out of sight, out of mind in El Salvador? I mean, we're perfect sheep. So I want to answer your question. I don't know I add much value answering it. I mean, are you kidding me? Come on.
So this is the statement that is getting Gavin Newsom a lot of backlash from people on the left. It's actually been one of the main talking points in today's news. So this is why we had to show it to you. And it continues to prove that there's a huge split within the Democratic Party on the strategy and the priorities and what they should be focusing on and what hills they should be dying on, right? He's more focused on the economy and tariffs. And quite frankly, if I was a Democrat, that is what I should be focusing on, because President Trump is strong on immigration. They're never going to beat him on that. And Senator Van Hollen, continuing to make his rounds on the media this morning to defend his visit to El Salvador, was asked about Newsom's comments. Here's what he said.
Do you see an argument that the focus on this, regardless of due process, which is totally understandable, but just on the politics, might not be winning for you?
I don't think it's ever wrong to fight for the constitutional rights of one person, because if we give up on one person's rights, we threaten everybody's rights. And I think a lot of voters, both Republican and Democrat, are tired of elected officials and politicians who just put their finger to the wind. And I would say that anyone who's not prepared to stand up and fight for the Constitution doesn't deserve to lead.
Well, I'm not shocked by that statement. We all know that Gavin Newsom, he's pissed off a lot of people in that party, understandably, because he's a flip-flopper. You can't believe anything that he says. But I'll tell you what, I can't remember the last time I agreed with him. And what I mean by that is this is the wrong fight that they are having. They shouldn't be fighting about Mr. Garcia, MS-13 gang member, a wife beater, et cetera, et cetera. We know his rap sheet already. So then Gavin Newsom decides it's a better idea to go onto a podcast and attempt to explain himself and what he meant in that press conference. But I think what he ended up doing is just contradicting himself.
But these are not normal times, so we have to call it out with clarity and conviction. But this is part of what we have to do and not get distracted with distractions. And focus on what is essential. This is essential, but we got to stay focused on it so the American people can stay focused on it, because his success is his ability to win every damn news cycle and to get us distracted and moving in 25 different directions and to be overwhelmed by everything that's coming at us 24/7. On this, we have to maintain our vigilance, focus, and our energy. And this has to be the issue that, there's no margin on this issue.
Yeah, so clearly Gavin Newsom is confused. I still don't understand the point that he was trying to make. At the end of the day, this is a huge distraction for Democrats, and Republicans will continue to applaud that and encourage it because it works to President Trump's strength. That is the bottom line. And another Democrat had something to say because he didn't like these comments either. Let's take a look at that now.
Well, distracted by? Listen, I wouldn't use the word distraction, because this is a real man with a family. He matters. Mr. Garcia matters as an individual, as a human being. But what's more is that this larger issue of denial and trying to distort the truth. The truth is there was no due process in this case. The truth is the Trump administration has no evidence that this person is a criminal, that he's involved in any gang activity. They continue to double down because what they are trying to do is distort the truth over and over.
And the main point that he was making that segues into the next part of this story is how now the media is claiming there is no evidence. There's none that he's MS-13. Let's ignore the tattoos. Let's ignore the documents that said that he was caught with other MS-13 members. Let's ignore that he was trafficking humans. Let's ignore that he was beating his wife. There's no evidence, people. He hasn't been convicted, so he's innocent.
There's no evidence that was provided because there was no hearing in which to do so that he is either a murderer or a criminal or a gang member. Isn't that something that should be provided to a judge, even an immigration judge, before somebody who has been in this country illegally, no question, but has been in this country and has appeared before judges before should be afforded?
I think he was afforded that due process. In this case, an illegal alien was transported back to El Salvador. The administration initially thought it was a mistake. Subsequently, it says it was not a mistake. The courts, interestingly, have suggested that we need to understand what facilitate means in the order. So they've deferred back to the lower court, Dana, to tell the administration, facilitate means this. And what's going on in El Salvador now is you have a citizen of El Salvador that is within the country of El Salvador. It really isn't the U.S.'s ability to go in and remove someone. It'll be up to the president of El Salvador.
So Dana Bass says there's no evidence, and this is the thinking from individuals on the left. Even if you showed them where it says that a judge and a gang unit identified him as MS-13, that he was arrested alongside MS-13 members, that he has tattoos that resemble an MS-13 member, that's not enough for them, clearly, because this is the guy they need in order to make their argument. They're in too deep. They can't say, oh, you know what, Mr. Garcia, we can't use him anymore. Let's find someone else. No, they're way past that. So, of course, she's going to deny that there's actual evidence.
The accusation of being MS-13 is based on a double hearsay testimony. They never followed up with it. And a detective who weeks later was indicted for sharing confidential information. His legal status, Abrego Garcia's, was approved by the Trump administration in 2019. And every year since then, he has checked in with the Department of Homeland Security. And nobody has said anything about him being a gangbanger.
Until he was?
No, not until anything.
He became a prop.
To this day. It's not about being a prop. There will be other senators that are looking into these, because it is reported that over 75% of the people that were on that plane have not been convicted of anything.
And that, ladies and gentlemen, is the main argument from the left as it pertains to the rap sheet of these individuals, okay? They don't believe they are criminals. It's because they haven't been convicted in America. I guess they're not buying the idea that they are gang affiliated. Doesn't matter the amount of tattoos or the people they hang around, or even when he was caught trafficking humans and the FBI let him go. I mean, none of that actually matters, okay? And she claimed that it was reporting. Got it. So you expect us to believe the media, because we know the media, all they do is lie. So that's what we're dealing with. And what's interesting, if they really wanted to debunk what the Trump administration has been showing America over the past few days about this guy's record, why didn't the senator press Mr. Garcia on his record when he met with him?
Police alleged a confidential informant claimed that Abrego Garcia was an active MS-13 member. His wife and his attorney deny that, of course. Can you say with absolute certainty that he is not, nor has he ever been a member of the MS-13 gang? And did you ask him point blank?
Well, Dana, what Donald Trump is trying to do here is change the subject. The subject at hand is that he and his administration are defying a court order to give Abrego Garcia his due process rights. They are trying to litigate on social media what they should be doing in the courts. They need to put up or shut up in the courts.
So, in other words, no, he didn't ask Mr. Garcia whether or not he was MS-13, because, quite frankly, Van Hollen doesn't care whether or not he's MS-13, because it's all about due process for them. He could be MS-13, he could be TDA, he could be a cartel member, he could be a human trafficker. That makes no difference for them. They're trying to push the narrative that President Trump is defying court orders because they believe this is the hill to die on. And like Gavin Newsom said at the beginning of this video, that is a huge distraction for the party. And the senator is a disgusting individual, because not only did he confirm that he used taxpayer money to go down there, but he also calls Mr. Garcia an American citizen.
A lot of questions there. First of all, who did pay for this trip?
This was an officially cleared, congressional trip, cleared on a bipartisan basis. Yes, like every other trip like the trip Kristi Noem took with her fashion show before CCOT, like the trip that 5 Republican members of the House took, like the day before when they went into CCOT. I can tell you, so that's, yes, it was an official trip. I think at some point the president of El Salvador realized it was looking really bad to have this person who had been absconded from America, from the streets of Maryland, in one of their prisons.
All right. Well, number one, as you guys heard him, he was literally going to call Mr. Garcia an American. He had to stop himself. So I think that is shocking. Secondly, listen, Kristi Noem is the Secretary of Homeland Security. Yes, she would fly down there using taxpayer dollars because it's in her job description. Okay. Unlike you have constituents back in Maryland that need more attention than what Mr. Garcia is getting. But how do they justify this? It's all about due process for Senator Van Hollen. And some people believe it's because he wants to be the president. So he's trying to gain political points here. Instead of just focusing on the truth and things that actually matter to his constituents. Now, here's Tom Homan responding to the senator and these ridiculous antics from him.
What bothers me more than that is a U.S. Senator traveled to El Salvador on taxpayer dime to meet with an MS-13 gang member, public safety threat, terrorist. I mean, in the meantime, the day before he traveled, an illegal alien was arrested for murder, released to the streets rather than honoring an ICE detainer in his very own state. What concerns me is Van Hollen never went to the border the last 4 years on Joe Biden when he had a 600% increase in sex trafficking in women and children. You have a record number of no-inspected terrorists crossing that border. You had 250,000 Americans die from fentanyl overdose because of the open border. You got over 4,000 illegal aliens died making that journey, which is a historic record. What shocks me is he's remained silent on the travesty that happened on our southern border. Many people died. Thousands of people died. I've met with hundreds of angel moms and dads who buried their children that were murdered by an illegal alien. How many angel moms and dads has he met in the state of Maryland? That's what concerns me.
And what also is concerning for me is that Senator Van Hollen this morning finally responded to the murder of Rachel Morin. After the last few weeks of him fighting aggressively for Mr. Garcia, having multiple press conferences and media tours to demand his return back to America, he now is making time to respond to Patty Morin.
You understand her frustration and feeling like her daughter was a constituent of yours, met a horrible end. That family didn't hear from you, and understand their frustration and that they see you extending so much time and energy over the Garcia case.
So what happened to the Morin family was awful and unacceptable. I cannot imagine losing a child like they lost Rachel. And I said at the time that my heart goes out to the Morin family. And I'm glad that the killer of Rachel Morin has been convicted in a court of law. That's how we hold guilty people accountable, in a court of law. Courts of law are also where people get their due process rights respected.
That's not the question. I think it's about the mother being unable to understand why you would spend so much time and energy for this person who was not in your state or in the country legally, at which time she felt like you didn't have the same concern about her daughter and her family.
I did have concern. I have concern. My heart goes out to every Maryland family that is the victim of violence, regardless of the perpetrator.
Well, let's just look at the results, okay? If I do a search of the last name for the Morin family on his X account, you get nothing. But if I do a search for, Mr. Garcia, what do I get? Countless posts. It's all about him. Look at all this energy. That's what the Trump administration is highlighting: the hypocrisy from Democrats and how disconnected they are from their own constituents. So you have all this energy for Mr. Garcia, but not much for Patty Morin, right? You didn't meet with her. You didn't hold a press conference with her, right? You didn't criticize the Biden administration for the malpractice that they committed by allowing all these people to come over illegally. I mean, none whatsoever. So great follow-up there. And I know it doesn't help Democrats when the mayor of New York City continues to come out and speak against this nonsense, he was on Fox News on Friday night saying this.
You have a different view of the city when you put on a bulletproof vest for 22 years and you protected the children and families of the city. I see the byproduct of failed legislation and those who want to go into their own corners. And most importantly, it's about respecting the office. People lose sight of that. You know, you don't all of a sudden become anti-American because the person you wanted to be president is not president. It's the office. When you don't respect the office, you're sending the wrong message. I respect the office. There's a president called President Trump. I'm going to work with that president to produce for the people of our city because I respect the office. That's the office and that's the flag that Uncle Joe died in Vietnam for at 19 years old. So I'm not for those who are desecrating our flag, who are on our college campuses, radicalizing our children, who are being harmful to what this country stands for. I don't care what they say. This is the greatest country on the globe, and in God we trust.
Yeah, so that statement from the mayor, I would argue would actually improve Democrats' poll numbers, of course, but they won't speak that way, which is why some of them are going independent, like the mayor, in his re-election campaign for New York City. Okay, so now let's hear from you guys. Number one, he definitely admitted that taxpayer money was used to fly down there. 2, he almost called Mr. Garcia an American. 3, he had no answer when Shannon confronted him on the fact that he's using all this energy to fight for Mr. Garcia, but did not use the same energy for Rachel Morin. And lastly, Gavin Newsom getting caught in hot water here because, again, he's continuing to piss off the Democrats by, I would say, telling the truth, even though we know it's not genuine. Let me know what you guys think about all those points that we made in this video in the comment section below. Now, yesterday, the Supreme Court definitely shocked everybody when they made a mistake. And that's what it is becoming more clear, where they have paused the Trump administration from deporting migrants to El Salvador. If you missed out on that story and more from yesterday, all you have to do is click on it because it's coming up right now.